So good afternoon everyone. So welcome to the last session on the course, laboratory course on data structure and algorithm for this semester. So we, the instructors are very much glad in this academic year because probably after a long time, so this is the first academic year where we are able to successfully complete our syllabus because the syllabus is so large that it is not feasible to complete the syllabus within a stipulated time, and it was only possible due to the lockdown, and only possible due to the I mean uh, high dedication from the students from your side, and you are very much patient towards the large number of sessions. Okay, so thanks for um, the cooperation to make this laboratory course successful. Okay, so in today's session, I shall demonstrate first the hashing along with the program implementation, and then Aisha ma'am will explain the sparse matrix. So I will show the demonstration of hashing. I will share the program code. You just run the program and show the output to Abhijit Singh. And the sparse matrix, which will be explained by Aisha ma'am, the sparse matrix implementation is easier. You can just use array for its implementation, just a 2D array. So it is easier. So you can try yourself uh, to implement the sparse matrix assignment. Okay, so we will not demonstrate that. You will do that on your own. And after that, lastly, I shall again demonstrate the program implementation of one of the important searching or traversal technique, that is depth first search algorithm, which is uh, mm, used for traversal or searching operation in a graph. Okay, so let me start without any delay. The concept of Let me briefly discuss about the hashing concept, and then I will show you the program implementation. Okay. Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So hashing, already I have studied because it was the part of the syllabus of your second class test. So hashing is a mapping some function h, which is mapping a key value k into a corresponding real value. Um, okay, so that real value is known as the hash index or hash value, okay, or hash address. So any key value k is being mapped into a corresponding index value. That index value is termed as hash value or hash key or address or address, right? So for example, there are how can we map this key value into its corresponding hash key or hash index or hash address? There are popular, commonly used hash functions available. One of them is a division method based hash function. So in today's program implementation demo, we shall see the hash function used is division method based hash function. So later, when if time permits, when you are free, okay, then you try with other hash functions, multiplication method based hash function, mid square method based, or folding method based hash function. Okay, so division method which is used here. So division method based hash function is defined as hk. H is the function applied on the key value k. So hk is defined as k modulo division by m. So very simple definition. K is the key value, okay, and m is a prime number. Generally, a prime number. You may take some other interior value also. and integer means non-negative integer, I plus. So usually we used to take n as a prime number and not close to 2 to the power of 2. So it's a user input m. Okay. So hk equal to k modulo division m. That is the definition of a hash function. Okay. For example, suppose a key value is 1, 2, 3, 4, and if we choose m to be equal to 97, then 1, 2, 3, 4 modulo division 97 comes out to be 70. So that 70 will be the hash value of 1, 2, 3, 4. ठीक है? For example, 5462 is a key value, and we want to find its corresponding hash key or hash value or hash address. Simply modulo divide that key value by 97. The result will be your hash key or hash address. Very easy. It should not be 16. After computation, it should be 30. So these are wrong. But the results here, it should be 70. Here it should be 30. So this is the division method based hash function. Okay. Now we have in the program we will actually create a table. We will form a table like this, which is known as hash table. Okay. So several user will provide several data. Our data is consisting of two parts. One is the key field, and another is the data value field. Okay. So that means it's a kind of a node. The structure is a node. So user will provide several nodes, and all those nodes will be stored in some memory locations in a organized way. How it is being or how they are being organized, that is handled by this hash table. So hash table actually organizes several data stored in different memory locations. So that is so it's kind of an organization scheme, data organization scheme. So let's see that through the program. Yeah. Hash table implementation, is it visible? Fonts? Right. Is it visible, the fonts? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So hash table implementation using division method. The operations which are performed over here, that is insertion operation, insertion of a new node, then deletion of a node from a hash, then searching of a node in a hash. Okay, and another function is defined over here, that is hash addr, which is generating the hash key or hash address or hash value. Okay, so here a node is defined, its structure, and structure of a node is defined as start hash el, hash l element, int key, key is the key part or key field, and data is storing the value of the data in the node. Okay, so two fields are there. One is the key field, another is the data field. Next, we are creating an array. Okay, the name of the array is table, and it's of size given by user, let's say 10. Suppose it's an array of size 10, and the contents of the array are nothing but pointers. Those pointers are supposed to point towards nodes of this structured data type. That's why the data type of this table becomes struct hasher. Okay, so this kind of an array is known as array of pointers. Array of pointers, because the array contents are pointers pointing towards several nodes of structured data type, struct hash l data type. Okay, so menu option, insert, delete, search, display. These are the operation insert, delete, search. Okay, so then okay, fine. So user is providing the key value and the data value of a node. Both the key and data information are passed through the function calls insert hash for insertion operation, delete hash for deletion operation. In that case also, for deletion operation also, user is providing key and data. Then search hash for searching operation. In that function also, user is providing key and data, and both are being passed. Display function displays the contents of the hash table. Okay, so these are the program function definition of insertion, and then searching, okay, and deletion. Now, before understanding the code, let's run the program and see how it's look like. The operation looks like. Okay, so first is insertion. First insertion. So uh, let me take a data set. So hashing data set. Hashing data set. Aishaman, uh, can you remember the data set which we used in the last class?
No, I don't remember the data set.
Uh, so did I share that in the WhatsApp group? Data set.
Let me just see on the WhatsApp.
হ্যাঁ স্যার আমি রিসেন্ড করেছি
করেছিলাম না ডেটা সেটটা একটু
হ্যাঁ
আমাকে
স্যার
বল।
In the last, no?
হ্যাঁ
স্যার হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ গ্রুপে পাঠালাম
পাঠিয়েছো আচ্ছা আচ্ছা দেখছি। Yes, yes, thank you. Okay, yes. So this, I mean, the hash table organizes the data, the nodes, right? And this organization depends on the sequence of data being inserted. Number one, okay, and number two, the key values. I mean, the selection of the value m. And here, notably, in this case, the m value has been taken as the size of the array. The size of the array is here 10. So here m is equal to 10. Okay, here m is equal to 10. And there is a reason why this m is selected as the size of the array. Okay, so it's very it's easy to understand why the value of m is taken as the size of the array. So just have a thought on this. You can answer the question. Anyway, so these are the two important aspects. Okay, the parameters. One is the value of the m, selection of the value of m, which is here the size of the array, and number two is the sequence of nodes being inserted into the hash table. For different sequence, hash table organization will be different. Anyway, so first let me insert 1 comma 20. So insert operation. So enter the key and then data separated by a space. The first data is 1 comma 20. First node is 1 space 20. Next again, let me display. Is it working or not? Yes, the hash table is showing contains as 1 comma 20. That is the only node available in the hash table. Okay. Actually, hash table is not containing the node. Hash table is actually containing several pointers, structure pointers. Each of those structure pointers are pointing towards nodes. This kind of nodes, which are uh, which are actually allocated, which are placed, which are stored, okay, in different memory locations. Okay, so that is the thing. But for our convenience, we are saying that this is the content of the hash table. So 1 comma 20. Next again, I want to insert. Next data is 42 comma 80, 42 space 80. Again insert. So insertion is working fine. So let me keep on inserting the elements. 37 space 97, enter. Insert 1432. 14 is the key, 32 is the data value. Insert 2 space 70, then insert 4 space 25, and then insert 13 comma 78, then insert 12 space for comma 44, and the last is 17 comma 11. Yeah. So 9 elements, I think. Yes, 9. So now if I want to display the content of hash table, so it is looking like this: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And in the picture which Shomathu has shared right now in the WhatsApp group, that is okay. So in the picture you can see the after insertion of this data in this sequence, the output should be looking like the array which is shown in the picture. First is at the zeroth index of zeroth location of the array is vacant. That means zeroth pointer is pointing towards null, it is nothing. But the first pointer is pointing towards the node containing data value 20, that is 1 comma 20. Next pointer is pointing towards 42 comma 80. So you can tally this output with the picture, with the picture, with the result shown in the picture. The result shown in the picture is generated through the logical explanation. Okay, I will just explain now how will you actually bring an output. Suppose this is the theoretical output which is shown in the picture. Okay, so and the output which we have got to the program is here, which you can see in the screen, in my laptop screen, and tally the both outputs, both are same. That means the program code is working very fine. It is able to produce the output correctly till the situation. Okay, so fine. Now if I want to delete some element, okay, not delete, before deletion let me explain you how this output, how will you explain the output generation of hashing. Yes, it's already there. So now suppose this is the array 0 to 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So array of size 10. This is an array of pointers. So contents are 10 pointers. Each of the pointers is supposed to point towards a node of struct struct hash L type, right? So now when you are inserting the first element 1 comma 20, so its key value is 1, the data value is 20. So you don't bother about the data value. Only you focus on the key value. The key value is here 1. So you need to find the hash value or hash key or hash address based on the h function you are using in the program. So here the h function used is division method based h function, hash function. And what is that? The hash function of 1 is supposed to be equal to the key value modulo division m. What is m here? M equal to 10. Here it is shown hk equal to k modulo division n. So if I compute 1 modulo 10, it will give us answer 1. That's why the hash key or hash value of 1 is 1. That means in 1th location of the array, go to the 1th location of the array. This is that pointer. So this 1th pointer should store the address of the node 1 comma 20. That is the logic. Next element is 42 comma 80, of which key value is 42. So compute its hash key. Compute the hash key of the key 42. So 42 modulo division by 10. So it will give us answer 2. So go to the second location of the array here. So the second pointer will point towards 42 comma 80. Similarly, 2 comma 70. This is interesting now because 2 comma 70 has a key value 2 and its hash key is 2 modulo division 10, which is coming out to be 2. So you are going to the second location of the array, but the second pointer is busy, is engaged, which is already pointing towards a non-empty node. So in this kind of a situation, we are handling in such a way that we will move on to the next location if it is available or not. Okay, so this is not a standard resolution process. When you will study about collision and several collision resolution mechanism, then it's fine. But as of now, we are handling this kind of situation like this. So if a pointer is already engaged, move on to the next pointer. If it is available, then let it be engaged. Otherwise, you move on to the next available pointer. Okay, so we are moving to the next pointer, third pointer. It is available, so it is pointing towards 2,70. So likewise, if you enter the next element is what? Oh, the third element was 37,97. Now what about 37,97? 37,97. So what is the key value, hash key value of 37? Who will say what is the hash key value of 37?
7, sir.
It's 7. So you will go to the 7th location and engage and make the 7th pointer to point towards 37,97. So similarly, you can explain for the insertion of the next set of nodes like 1432. So its hash key value will be
4.
Hash key value will be 1432.
Sir, 4.
4. So
4.
So see, fourth pointer is pointing towards 1432. Next, 270. Already explained. It is second point. The third pointer is pointing towards 270. Why? Because second pointer is already engaged. So you are going to the next pointer, third pointer, which is available. That's why third pointer is pointing towards 2,70. Next is 425. So 425. क्या बोलबे? 425 এর hash value কি হবে?
Sir,
4.
4. So we will go to the fourth pointer, but it is engaged. So what will happen? What will happen?
Sir, shift করবে।
Shift में we will go to the next pointer. So fifth pointer is pointing towards 425. Similarly, বলো next কি আছে? 1378. এই ছবি দেখে বলো কোন পয়েন্টার 1378 কে পয়েন্ট করবে করা উচিত? 1378.
Third location করা উচিত।
But third location এর পয়েন্টারটা এঙ্গেজ আছে, তাহলে কি হবে?
তাহলে শিফট করে 6 পজিশনে যাবে।
Yes. The fourth to engage আছে, fifth pointer engaged আছে, so sixth
Yes.
pointer is available. It is pointing towards 1378. So next is 1244. So 2 is engaged, 3 engaged, 4 engaged, 5, 6 engaged, 7 is also engaged. So 8 pointers available, so it is pointing towards 1244. Very simple logic. And 1711 lastly. So 17 means 7th pointer, busy, 8 busy, 9th pointer is pointing towards 1711. And that's why this becomes the organization of the data. This is how data is stored. Okay, so this is the insertion process. Next, we come to now the deletion. So as expected, if I want to delete some, okay, let me delete some element which is not present at all in the table. So let's say 10, okay, delete 2. Enter the key and data. So 10 space 50. So 50 is not found in the hash table, so that's fine. So now we know that 1397 is present. So I want to delete. The key is 37, the element is 97. Okay. So 97 is found at 7th position and deleting element. Now if I display, then it should show without 37 and 97. So this is desired result, right? So deletion, I think it's not a problem. It is very straightforward. But how deletion is happening? So it is searching for 37,97. That means we have to understand how it actually does the searching operation. So let's say 4 and 25. So 25 is found at 5th position. Okay. If I search 3, 13 and 97, that is not found because of earlier is was deleted. Now coming to searching operation. Searching operation is very straightforward because in searching, so key user given key value, data value are passed through search operation, search function. So search address is supposed to hold search address equal to hash address equal to hash ADDR key. This function calculates the hash value or hash key. Okay. So for example, here we are searching for 425. So the hash value is 4 because because m equal to 10. So yeah. So this is 4. So search address or hash address equal to 4. Now go to the table. That means open the picture, go to the table and go to the location. Go to the location table 4. Table 4 means this one. So you straightforward directly you are coming here in this location. You get it? It's not like that you are starting from this 0th location and then comparing here, then you are going to one comparison, next location comparison, next location. No, it's not like that. Straightforward, you are going to the destination, which is 4th location of the array. Okay. So after going there, that location, you are directly comparing. Is that non-null? Is that null? No, it is not null. If it is null, so nothing is stored over here. So the data does not exist. Whatever you are searching for, does not exist. It does not exist at that location. মানে বাংলা ভাষায় হচ্ছে যে 4,25 can be present in this location. If it is not there, it may be present in the next location. But if this location is null, if this pointer is pointing towards null, it is not possible that it may be present in the next locations. Am I correct? So if this is null, straightforward you can come to the conclusion data does not exist. 4,25 is not present in the list. Only if it is engaged, and if it is not 4,25, you can look for the next pointer. That's the idea. So if it is not null, then we are comparing the data present in that location with the data given by the user. If it is matching, search is successful. Okay. Otherwise, what we are doing, we are going to the next location, hash address plus plus. So from 4th location, we will now move on to the 5th location. If it is engaged and data is not matched, then we will go for the next location. That's why hash address plus plus. Okay, like this. So in this manner, shifting and shifting, right shifting one by one, you may eventually come to the last location of the array. So if you come to the last location of the array, what will happen? Still matching is not found, suppose. Then you have to come back to the 0th location and again repeat the process, right? This is called wrap around situation. Wrap around phenomena or circular phenomena. Yes. So how to do that? So if hash address is reached the size of the array, then you do this hash address modulo division by size. Automatically it will come back to the 0th location. See, hash address equal to size. So size modulo division size equal to 0. Right? So hash address is reinitialized to 0. Yes. So that's it. Or you can alternatively you can do hash address reinitialized equal to 0 with 0. That's it. So in doing so, you have come to this 0th location. If match is not found, you are going to the next location. Match not found here, match not found here, match not found. If it is not matched found here, you are going to the next location, and ultimately you have come back to the first location from where you have started your searching operation. So if you started your searching operation from a point and ultimately you come back to that initial starting point. That means what? The conclusion is data does not exist there. So we are checking whether the hash address has become the initial starting address, that is the search address. Search address is actually storing the initial hash key, and hash address is gradually changing, it is moving, right? So after moving, shifting by one, ultimately if it reaches if it comes back to the search address initial hash key, then we have to come up to the conclusion that the data does not exist. Or somewhere in some point, if you find that the hash key hash address is pointing towards null, that means you have to understand you do not have to move further and come up to the conclusion data does not exist. So either of these conditions, if it is true, you have to conclude that the data does not exist. So this is the searching code. Once you, if you understand this, deletion is the exact replica of the searching with some 1 or 2 line modification. Okay, so this is all from my side. So very quickly I have tried my best to demonstrate you the hashing. Okay, so just I am sharing the code, just run the code and show the output to Abhijit sir for the performance marks corresponding to the hashing. So hashing is of session 9. So you will get the performance marks on session 9. The next, Aisha will explain the sparse matrix. So if you, whatever progression you will do regarding sparse matrix, show the same to the Abhijit sir, so that Abhijit sir can credit you the performance marks related to sparse matrix, which is of session 10. And after explanation of Aisha ma'am, I will again demonstrate the beyond syllabus assignment. You don't have to code it. So I will share the code again for the graph DFS algorithm. You just run the program, little bit understand, that's enough. That will be enough, and just show the output to register.
হ্যালো
That's
স্যার
it.
স্যার
Yes,
স্যার বলছি একবার কোডটা দেখাবেন ওই হ্যাশ
আমি
টেবিলে
শেয়ারই
একটা
করি।
জিনিস
আমি শেয়ার করি।
না একটা প্রবলেম হচ্ছিল ওটা জিজ্ঞেস করতাম আসলে
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, একবার আমি শেয়ার করে দিই, তাহলে সবাই অ্যাক্সেস করতে পারবে। Desktop. I have shared the code. হ্যাঁ, আমি কি শেয়ার করবো কি আমার কোডটা কি শেয়ার করবো? মানে
হ্যাঁ
স্ক্রিন
মানে
শেয়ার করবো?
বল
আচ্ছা
স্যার আপনি শেয়ার করুন বলতে সুবিধা হবে
আচ্ছা। দেখা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার সার্চ
বলো।
হ্যাশে যান সার্চ
সার্চ।
হ্যাশ ফাংশন
হ্যাঁ বলো।
স্যার ওখানে ওই হোয়াইল স্টেটমেন্টটা দিয়েছেন আপনি টেবিল ব্র্যাকেটের মধ্যে হ্যাশ অ্যাড্রেস নট ইকুয়াল টু নাল ওটা চালু হচ্ছে এবার এই লুপ থেকে তখনই বেরোবে যখন হচ্ছে টেবিল ব্র্যাকেটের মধ্যে হ্যাশ অ্যাড্রেস ইকুয়াল টু নাল হবে তাই তো
ইয়েস।
মানে লুপ থেকে বেরিয়ে আসবে তাহলে তো স্যার ওই লুপে মানে পরের ইফ স্টেটমেন্টটা তো দরকারই ছিল না মানে হোয়াইল লুপের পরে যে ইফ স্টেটমেন্টটা যেটা শুরু হয়েছে ইফ টেবিল হ্যাশ
না না,
অ্যাড্রেস
এটা
ইকুয়াল টু
হচ্ছে
ইকুয়াল টু নাল
এটা হচ্ছে দেখো এই পিকচারটায় দাও, তাহলে তোমাকে একটা ডেটা সেট একটা সিনারিও দিই, তাহলে ক্লিয়ার হবে। আমি একটা ছোট্ট নিচ্ছি। ঠিক আছে, এখানে মনে করো এটা 1। তো ফর এক্সাম্পল এ পয়েন্ট করে আছে একটা নোটকে, যার এখানে ভ্যালু আছে ধরো এটা কত 1, তাহলে এটা মনে করো 11, ইলেভেন 40। আর মনে করো এখানে একটা নোড আছে, মনে করো হচ্ছে 23 অ্যান্ড হচ্ছে তোমার ধরো 60। এবার তুমি ধরো একটা সার্চ করছো, ফর এক্সাম্পল মনে করো 21,30 সাপোজ, ঠিক আছে?
Yes.
Suppose you are searching for 21,30. So if you two case, so you can one case, another is let's say 22,30. So if you search for 21,30, its hash key is কত? 1.
Yes, sir. 1.
So you are going directly to the first location, 1th location. Is that
Yes,
pointer
sir.
engaged? Yes.
Yes.
That means in the while loop, the condition is satisfied. This condition is satisfied. It is not equal
Yes.
to null. Okay. But this node can be present here, may not be present here. If the data
Yes.
part is matching along with the key, uh, I mean, see, the hash key is matching because it is 1. But if the data part is matching, then data found, matching found. But if that data is not equal to the data over here, next, that data may be present in the next locations, next set of pointers. So you have to go for the next pointer. So what we are doing, we are comparing is the data given by the user is present, is equal to, is matching with the data already present in the memory table hash address pointing data, right? Then it is found
Yes.
if it is equal to 40, 21, yeah. So if, it is not matching here, 30 and 40, right? So this if condition is not satisfied. So what it is doing, it is now doing hash address plus plus. So that means it is going to the next hash address, that is 2. And what is happening? It is null. Okay. So
Yes.
hash address plus plus, it has not reached the last location, so it will continue with the while. So is the table hash address not equal to null? But the table hash address is actually pointing towards null. That means the condition
Null,
of the
yes.
while becomes false. So while is terminated.
Ah.
So both these conditions are utilized. Okay. But now suppose
Yes.
this is the case. 22,30. So that means is that non-null? Yes, it is not null. It is engaged.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. My mistake. My mistake. So 22,30. So the hash key is 2. So you are directly going to the second location of the table array. Now you are checking whether the pointer is pointing towards null or not. But it is pointing towards null. And the condition in the while is it is not supposed to point towards a null.
Not satisfied.
So if it is false, it is not entering into the while loop. Okay. It is coming to straightforward this if condition. That means the data cannot be present anywhere in the has to be. If it is not in that location, okay, if it is null, that means it is not possible to possible for the data to be present anywhere in the table. But if if that location with the hash key is engaged, then there is a possibility that the data may be present in the next locations. That is the case. Okay. So 22,30, here it is null. Coming to the if condition, this if condition, is table hash address equivalent to null? Yes. Table hash address 2, table 2 is null. So that means data not found in the hash table. Okay.
Yes, sir. Village. Yes, sir. Village.
Anything else? Anyone? Okay.
Sanjita, shall I start?
Yes, you can start, please. So,
Please share the screen.
yeah, okay.
Just directly, you had opened where you were writing the matrix, the 2D matrix where you were writing to export that one and the add program also. While sir is doing this, and let me just explain to you what a sparse matrix is my voice audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Is my okay? Okay, so sparse matrix is basically what? It's like when you have a normal 2D matrix, it's a combination of zero as well as non-zero elements. What happens is in a sparse matrix, the number of non-zero elements are very much less than the number of zero elements. So in some cases, the you do not the when in some cases when the zero elements in the matrix they occupy space, or when we are computing two matrices we are also having to compute two zero elements. So what happens is there's wastage of memory and there's wastage of efficiency. Computational time required is more for something which is not very important. In most cases zero value is not considered very important, so we are having to compute them also when we are considering matrices where the number of zero values are greater. So that is a sparse matrix where the zero values are much greater in number than the non-zero values. So what do we do is, in order to increase the efficiency of such matrices also, we convert those regular 2D matrix into a sparse matrix. Now when we are converting our regular rows and columns 2D matrix into a sparse matrix, the dimensions of the sparse matrix they differ a little from your day-to-day matrix. Whenever we are talking about a sparse matrix, there are three things which we have to keep in mind. That is, we have row, column, and value. Like you can see in what Sir has shared. When we talk about a sparse matrix, the row that we take in consideration, we only take those row indices into account where the non-zero value is present. Same goes for column. Only those column indices will be taken into account where the non-zero value is present. And lastly, the term value means it denotes the non-zero elements which you have in your matrix. So for example, that matrix which is there in the figure right now, there are how many rows? 0, 1, 2, 3. There are basically 4 rows from 0 to 3, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 columns from 0 to 4. So here you can see when the below I've written row column value, the row value I've written as 0, 0, 1, 1, 3, 3. Okay, column is 242312 and value is value below 345276. If you cross check it with the above 2D matrix, the value is just the non-zero values which are present in your 2D matrix. I have just written those down. That is it. Now value 3. Where is the value 3 located? It is located in the 0th row and second column. That is why row is 0, column is 2. The value 4, where is value 4 located? Again, the value 4 is in the 0th row and the 4th column. That is why it is 0, 4. Similarly, value 5 is in the first row and third column. Sorry, first row and second column, and so forth. Till all the values, we are basically writing the non-zero values and the corresponding row and column indices for those non-zero values. So Sanjita, can you open that notepad where sparse addition is explained? I'll just explain them the program a little. Now the problem statement for sparse matrix is that they basically have to do two programs. One is the representation of a sparse matrix, which is extremely simple, and second one is your addition of two sparse matrices. What I am going to do now is explain to you the representation of a sparse matrix, addition of a sparse matrix. The code which I am sharing to you, it has little bit of error. The condition statements of that code has little bit of error. I want you all to check that error, correct it, and then perform the program. It is extremely simple. When I explain the representation, automatically the addition of two matrices will come automatically to you. So in addition of two matrices, we have taken two matrix A, and let's suppose we have taken our matrix A, which is 2020. K temp is the sparse matrix. Now always keep in mind, a sparse matrix will always have fixed number of rows, which is 3, which I just showed to you. That is row, column, and value. The number of rows in a sparse matrix is always 3. Now the number of columns in a sparse matrix is k. What is k here? K is the number of non-zero values which are present in your original 2D matrix. So however many number of non-zero values you will have in your 2D matrix, that many columns you will have in your sparse matrix. So that is undefined. We still do not know. Suppose when you're constructing a program, you do not know how many non-zero values are there. So you're taking that as k. But your number of rows are fixed, so that will always be 0, 1, 2. Now coming to the code part, here we have taken for I equal to 0, I less than n, j equal to 0, j less than m, that is fine. And then you're inputting a 2D matrix scanf percentile d ampersand a ij. Now you're running a loop if ij not equal to 0. Why? This loop, if ij not equal to 0 till the end, is basically the code which is representing a sparse matrix. You are only going to take that row value and that column value where you are having a non-zero number. So the rows is fixed, that is k times 0. K for the first instance is if ij not equal to 0. In the example which sir has showed right now, in that example, for I0 and J2, we were getting a value of 3. Okay, in that matrix where you had I as 0 and J as 2, the non-zero value was 3. So in the first case, if Aij not equal to 0, it is A2, 3 not equal to 0. In that case, the loop will run. In other cases, wherever I and J together when put, if you're getting the value 0, we will not run the loop. The loop will not run for that scenario. Only in those cases when you're putting I and J value and the answer you're getting as non-zero, in that scenario will the loop run. All right. So if Aij not equal to 0, the first thing you have to do is jot down all those places where your where your column value and row value, in which cases you're getting a non-zero value in the regular matrix. So then k temp 0k, k is what initially when you're initializing in the topmost line of the code, you will see we have initialized k as 0. So 0, 0 is equal to I. I is what? I in the first case is 0. 1k, 1, 0. Again, j is j for what value was j non-zero? 2. Prasanjita, could you show that text file again? You can see here, in which can see for I0 and J2 we have value 0. So for this case the loop will run. For I0 J2 we are getting I as 3. Again next case is again for I0 J4 we are getting the value 4. Again for I1 J2 the value is being put as 5. So how many times will this run? This will keep running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the loop will run 6 times because we have 6 non-zero elements. So until the time we do not get A, I, J as 0, this loop will keep running. Did you all understand? It is very simple. All you have to do is select where, in which scenario I and J is corresponding to a non-zero value. You just put those values in the program and it should be equal to the non-zero value. That is how you're representing a matrix. Is it understood by everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Prasanjita, can you open the code once again? See, I had said I is 0, J is 2. In that case, you have the value as 3. Again, the loop will run for which case? I is 0, J is 4. The value is you're getting K as 4. So you keep running, then the entire loop will run how many number of times? The number of non-zero values, that many number of times the loop will run. Once it is exhausted, once no more non-zero values are present and only zero values are present, then that condition will not be satisfied, which is if Aij is not equal to 0. If Aij, once it becomes equal to 0, you will exit this loop. Once you exit the loop, then you will just print the sparse matrix Well, I is 0, I is less than 3. I just said rows is always fixed, rows is always 3, but j will run from 0 to k, where k is the column number, also where k denotes the number of non-zero elements present in a 2D matrix. And then you print the matrix. Understood, everyone? Now this was your this was the easiest representation of a sparse matrix. Coming to addition of a sparse matrix, when you're adding when you're adding a sparse matrix, you have to take a regular sparse 2D matrix. You have to first convert the 2D matrix into a sparse matrix. After converting the 2D into a sparse matrix, you have gotten two sparse matrices now. How will you add? When you are adding two values in the sparse matrix, you have to first compare them. You compare which one is smaller. Once you compare which one is smaller, the smaller value will then be put in the resultant matrix. When you go down in the program, you will find everywhere a condition of comparison is put. You're comparing two values, only the smaller value will be put in the resultant matrix. But in the scenario or in the case where where the two sparse matrices have equal values, it can happen two sparse, when you're adding two numbers of a sparse matrix, it can happen both of them have same or equal values. In that case, you just have to add both the values and put it in the resulting matrix. If the value is different, you put the smaller number in the resultant matrix. If the value of both the sparse matrices which you're adding, if they are same, you just add both of them and then you put it in the sparse resultant matrix. Right now, when you see the code which sir is sharing with you, I am telling you beforehand itself, there is a error in a condition part when you're adding two sparse matrices. I want all of you to identify that error in the condition part and then perform the program. It is an extremely simple program. As in, when you go down, you will see everywhere, see while I less than k, everywhere a checking is performed. You're checking which value is smaller. Only when smaller, you're putting it in the sparse, in the resulting matrix. If same, you're adding them and then putting it in the sparse, in the resultant matrix. Did everyone understand the representation? The representation part is extremely easy. There, the code for representation has no error whatsoever. That is perfectly fine. You can copy paste the code, you can understand the code because it's extremely simple. But the addition part, I'm telling you, there's a slight error over there. I want you all to identify the error and then perform the program. Is it understood to everyone? What is a sparse matrix and why do we need a sparse matrix? The number of columns in a sparse matrix, the rows, how you are representing a sparse matrix, etc. Anyone who didn't understand? Is it understood to everyone? I think it will be better if I could get a response. Anyone who didn't understand, who was having trouble understanding? Everyone has understood, I hope. So Sanjita, you can stop sharing. Since no one is responding, so I'm assuming everyone has understood. And the code, you'll share the code once again. I think I'll share the code once again in the group, and then they can start with the program.
So I've shared the code in TXT file in the WhatsApp group. Yes, that's fine.
Okay, then they can start performing the hashing and sparse matrix.
Sparse matrix. হ্যাশিংটা রান হয়েছে সবার?
Yes, sir.
ওকে, তাহলে ওটা হয়ে গেছে, শুধু স্পার্সটা বাকি। ঠিক আছে, সবার হয়েছে তো হ্যাশিং?
স্যার হ্যাশিংটা কি দেখিয়ে নেবো?
হ্যাঁ দেখিয়ে নাও, সবাই একটু দেখিয়ে নাও, তাহলে হয়ে গেল, একটা সেশন কমপ্লিট হয়ে যাবে। দেখি নাও, 1 by 1 দেখি নাও আউটপুট।
স্যার ডেটা সেটটা আগে দিয়ে নিই তারপর নাকি?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ডেটা সেটটা দিয়ে আউটপুটটা রেডি করে স্ক্রিন শেয়ার করে দেখি নাও।
স্যার শো করবো?
হ্যাঁ করো।
স্যার ডিলিশনটা দেখিয়ে দিচ্ছি। আর স্যার সার্চিংটা।
ঠিক আছে,
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে।
তাহলে মোটামুটি বোঝা গেছে তো?
ইয়েস স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে। বলছি তো মার্কস দেবো। নেক্সট
present
দেখো।
হ্যাঁ।
করবো?
হ্যাঁ প্রেজেন্ট করো।
নেক্সট দেখাও, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ দেখাও।
না বিয়ে গ্রাফটা দেখিয়ে দেবো, গ্রাফটা দেখিয়ে দেবো। একটু শুভজিৎ তাহলে একটু স্পাসটা করো, তাদের হয়ে যাচ্ছে, স্পাসটা একটু ট্রাই করো,
ওকে স্যার।
কি ভুল আছে ওটা বের করার চেষ্টা করো।
স্যার এটা আউটপুট। স্যার
হুম
ইনসার্ট করার পর এটা এসছে, তারপর সার্চিং করেছি 937 97।
হুম হুম
তারপর স্যার ডিলিশন করেছি আর একটা।
ঠিক আছে।
স্টপ করবো?
হ্যাঁ 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 স্টপ করো।
হ্যাঁ স্টপ করো, স্পাসটা ট্রাই করো, আমি
এই
একটু গ্রাফ দেখাচ্ছি।
এই নেক্সট নেক্সট কি আউটপুট দেখাও দেখো।
নেক্সট দেখাও, কে দেখাবে?
দেখাবো
হ্যাঁ
দেখাবো
হ্যাঁ দেখাও দেখাও।
হ্যাঁ স্যার এটা ইনসারশন।
হুম হুম।
এসছে।
তারপরে তারপরে সার্চিং
তারপরে
করেছি,
কি?
আর তারপরে একবার ডিলিটও করে দেখে নিয়েছি।
হুম
হ্যাঁ
দেখতে
তাহলে হচ্ছে,
পাচ্ছি।
তাহলে
হুম
ঠিক আছে,
হুম হুম।
স্পাসটা
ঠিক
চেষ্টা
আছে
করো।
নেক্সট।
ঠিক আছে।
নেক্সট।
নেক্সট
নয়না সংগ্রাম দেখিয়ে দাও, হ্যাশিংটা দেখিয়ে দাও।
হ্যাঁ স্যার
Yes, sir, just a minute.
রোহান, শিবানী, সন্দীপ, সায়ন্তী,
Yes, sir.
দেখিয়ে দাও হ্যাশিং। 2 রোহান।
দেখা যাচ্ছে স্যার?
হ্যাঁ, সংগ্রামের ডিসপ্লে চলছে।
বলছি স্যার এটা ইনসার্ট করেছি ডেটা ছিল
হুম
তারপরে
বুঝতে পেরেছো? বুঝতে পেরেছো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার
ঠিক আছে, সব প্রেজেন্টেশন করো, স্টার্ট।
ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে তো নেক্সট দেখো
নেক্সট। এরপর কি দেখাচ্ছে দেখো।
স্যার
হুম
সন্দীপ, বুঝেছো মোটামুটি কিভাবে হচ্ছে লজিকটা?
ইয়েস স্যার।
ঠিক আছে, নিচের দিকে দেখাও। নিচে, হ্যাঁ। ওকে,
স্যার সার্চ করি 3797
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ,
আর 1244 ডিলিট করি।
ঠিক আছে হুম
ঠিক আছে।
ওকে স্যার।
নেক্সট দেখো
নেক্সট।
Sir, I will present.
ইয়েস।
হুম
এই তো ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে। নেক্সট।
Sir, can I present, sir?
শিওর।
স্যার ইনসার্ট করেছি, তারপরে ডিসপ্লে করেছি, তারপরে ডিলিট করে আবার ডিসপ্লে করেছি স্যার।
বুঝেছো তো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার বুঝেছি আমি।
ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে। ওকে, নেক্সট।
নেক্সট দেখো
শিবানী দেখাও।
শিবানী শান্তি
সায়ন্তী।
Actually,
Sir, আমি কানেক্ট করছি তো।
হ্যাঁ, সায়ন্তী দেখো। একে যেন নেট প্রবলেম ছিল, সুপর্ণা বোধহয়। শেয়ার ইউর আউটপুট স্ক্রিনশট।
স্যার আমি প্রেজেন্ট করছি।
হ্যাঁ,
দেখাও
স্যার এই যে।
ঠিক আছে। নেক্সট।
স্যার প্রেজেন্ট করবো?
প্রেজেন্ট করো, প্রেজেন্ট করো।
স্যার
ঠিক আছে, বুঝেছো মোটামুটি?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
ওকে, নেক্সট। কে থাকলো বাকি? শিবানী কুমারী,
শিবানী দেখায়নি।
आउटपुट हैशिंग हुआ?
স্যার আমি করছি প্রেজেন্ট।
सायन, हाँ
হ্যাঁ রান করেছে, তাই তো?
হুম।
ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে।
नेक्स्ट शिवानी, शो योर आउटपुट।
नहीं हो पाया मेरा, पता नहीं क्या प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है।
ও তোমার হয়নি শিবানী?
सर सर एक्चुअली मेरा लैपटॉप कनेक्ट नहीं हो पा रहा है।
ठीक है, मोबाइल से स्क्रीनशॉट लेके भेज दो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे।
जी सर।
ओके,
So
सो
everyone please do the next assignment, right?
हाँ राइट,
ওই হ্যাঁ ইয়েটা করে ফেলো তো ফার্স্টে।
স্পাসটা ঠিক আছে, স্পাসটা একটু ট্রাই করো, তাহলে আমি এটা বলে দিই।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
ট্রাই করার
গ্রাফটা
সময়
দিয়েছে।
সেটাই, তাহলে আমি গ্রাফটা একটু বলে দিই, সবাই একটু তাহলে শোনো। গ্রাফের ডিএফএসটা। So I have shared two images, pictures in the WhatsApp group. One is of DFS, depth first search, another is of breadth first search. So just for your study purpose. So this is the beyond syllabus assignment. So the problem statement is, though the theoretical aspect is portion is included in your theoretical syllabus, but in practical it is not mentioned in the syllabus. So we have considered this as a beyond syllabus experiment. So all of us at least should be knowing the program implementation related to one algorithm of graph. So study of graph search algorithms. So there are two popular graph search techniques. One is breadth first search, BFS, and the second one is depth first search. So I will demonstrate the second one, depth first search. Okay. So if you can understand this, so you can do the first searching technique on your own. Okay, very similar to each other. So this is the problem statement. Now so you have studied so far searching algorithm, linear search, binary search, and also another efficient, scheme for searching operation, that is hashing. Hashing is has been introduced for making the searching operation efficient. So it, in best case scenario, it follows order of one. Hashing, searching complexity order of one. Linear search order of n. Binary search log n base 2. Order of log n base 2. Right. So data structure on which you have applied searching operation or like linear, so array linked list, and in non-linear uh, you have implemented program for a tree, right? Several trees like threaded binary tree you have done, AVL tree you have done, binary search tree you have done, right? So in a graph also searching operation is important. We have to perform searching operation. We need to find a vertex in a graph. So there are two, uh, I mean, popular. There are two popular techniques which are BFS and DFS, breadth first search and depth first search. So one of which depth first search we shall be understanding today. So this is a traversal mechanism, and through this traversal we will have the search. ঠিক আছে? So let me just briefly discuss about the DFS, depth first search. Okay. So the is it visible to all of you? Can you read the lines?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So algorithm for this is an algorithm for searching or traversal in graph. ठीक है? So already you know what is a graph. Some set of vertices are there, some set of edges are there, and the edges are connecting the vertices in some way to produce a graph. A graph may contain connected components, more than one connected components, right? And the graph may be directed, it may be undirected. So let's consider the simplest case, that is an undirected graph. G is equal to V comma E. In this way we use to denote G, right? Capital V is the set of vertices, E is the set of edges. So we want to start with a vertex, let's say V0. That V0 belongs to the vertex set capital V. Capital V is the set of all vertices in the graph G. So one of them is V0, and we want to start with this. So what is the vertex V0? We have to select that. So it's an initialization of the vertex V0. Okay. So when you initialize with the vertex V0, that V0 is called a visited vertex. Visited means it's sort of it is displayed. What do we mean by visited? The vertex is visited means that vertex is displayed on the screen, output screen, or it is stored somewhere in the stack, or whatever you want to process. There you may require some processing, okay, data processing in a graph. So that visited means also that vertex is processed. The processing part of the vertex is done. That's the meaning, different type of meaning of visited. Okay. So select now. Next step, first step is initialize the vertex V0. Okay, as per your choice in a graph. Then you select an adjacent vertex Vk of V0. Okay, in the picture means in the picture, suppose we have a graph. So this is a vertex. So this vertex V0 may have several adjacent vertices. Right? Adjacent vertex means if two vertices are directly connected by an edge, then these two vertices are called adjacent vertices. So here, this vertex is adjacent to V0, this vertex is adjacent to V0, this vertex is also adjacent to V0. So there may be several adjacent vertices. And out of them, let's say one of them is Vk. So Vk is the one of the adjacent vertex to V0. So we are talking about a Vk. Select an unvisited vertex. So, okay, so first you visit V0, then select any unvisited vertex, adjacent vertex Vk. Okay, and then next step, so you are selecting Vk out of this several adjacent vertices to V0. You are selecting one. Let's say this is Vk. After selecting that vertex Vk, you start the algorithm DFS algorithm from VK. What do we mean by that? Starting DFS algo or DFS process from VK. Okay. So after VK, there may be some structure like this. Okay, so this may be a structure like this, like this. Okay, okay. So this is, you know, VK plus 1. This is VK plus 2. Similarly, this is some vertex. Let me give here some dot dot. Dot dot. And suppose this is BP. Okay, so from VK we want to start the process of DFS process. ঠিক আছে? And ultimately process of DFS means we want to simply traverse. So from VK we have to come to this vertex, and from this vertex I have several ways to move further. I may move along this branch, I may move along this branch, I may move along this branch, I may move along this branch. Several options. So out of which I may select along this branch and go to this vertex. From this vertex to this vertex to, let's say, this vertex. So I have to just move on. I have to just traverse along vertices, along some path. Okay, that is the meaning of simply a DFS. We are just traversing. So from VK we are traversing, and along a path. Let's say, let me show you the path. Let's say we are traversing along this path, and ultimately we have come to this vertex BP, and we want to stop this traversal process till BP. Stop here. Why? If it is satisfied that all the adjacent vertices of BP are visited, there is no single adjacent vertex to BP left which is not visited. Okay, so if that is the case, that all the adjacent vertices of VP are visited, then you have to stop that traversal at that vertex BP. So this is that kind of a vertex. It may be anywhere present in the graph. When you start from journey from VK, BP can be anywhere. Let's say this is here. Okay, that is written here. So during DFS, okay, reach a vertex BP of which all the adjacent vertices are visited, and then end the DFS from VK. That is meaning we are ending the process of DFS, ending the process of traversal. Okay, so once you stop this process, traversal process at VP, then you try to, okay, let me now, so now you try to come back from VP along this path. Okay, so back traversing. So from VP you want to come back to its previous vertex which you have already visited. From there you may come back to this vertex. So ultimately you are coming back, you are traversing back along this path. Okay, so while traversing back along this path, ultimately you may reach a vertex. Let's say this vertex which is denoted by, let's say, VP minus I. I will explain what is the meaning of I. So VP minus I, for example, there is a vertex exists, VP minus I, which is already visited because it is present on along this path, on this path. Okay, so all the vertices which are lying on this path are already visited because we have reached BP along this path. So BPI minus I is such a vertex which is present lying on the path. Okay, and what is the speciality? What kind of VPI vertex is this? This vertex does have at least one node, at least one node, at least one adjacent vertex which is unvisited. We call it, let's say this is VQ. VQ. Okay, so from VP we want to come back, we want to return back along this path, and while returning back along this path, we may find a vertex VP minus I, of which there exists at least one unvisited vertex BQ adjacent to BP minus I. If that is the case, we next want to start the DFS process from this vertex VP minus I. ঠিক আছে, তাহলে ভিকে থেকে ডিএফএ স্টার্ট করলাম, মানে ট্রাভার্সিং স্টার্ট করলাম, ট্রাভার্স করতে 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 একটা ভার্টেক্স ভিপি অবধি পৌঁছবো যার সবকটা অ্যাডজাসেন্ট ভার্টিসেস ভিজিটেড হয়ে গেছে। সেখানে তখন আমাকে বুঝে নিতে হবে ভিকে থেকে যে ডিএফএসটা স্টার্ট হয়েছে সেটা ভিএফএতে শেষ হলো। এবার তুমি রিটার্ন ব্যাক করছো, রিটার্ন ব্যাক করতে করতে এমন একটা ভার্টেক্স পেতে পারো ভিপি মাইনাস আই যার অ্যাটলিস্ট একটা অ্যাডজাসেন্ট ভার্টেক্স রয়েছে ভিকিউ যে কিনা আনভিজিটেড। যদি এমনটা হয়, সেই ভিপি মাইনাস আই ভার্টেক্স থেকে you will again start DFS, traversal process. So this is the logic. So if you continue like this, what will happen? You will traverse along this graph in such a way that all the vertices present in the graph will be visited exactly once. So this is an efficient traversal process and hence an efficient searching process. All the vertices are visited once. Okay, so this is the logic of the DFS algorithm in a graph. Now about the program implementation. Okay, so here n is the number of vertices present in the graph. So this program has been implemented with the help of Yashwant C. Kanitkar. Okay, so what is the input in this program? Okay, so the input of this program is what you will be given, the program, what will be given to the programmer or user. So programmer will be given a graph construction, picture will be given, graph. So given the graph, okay, you can theoretically find the adjacency list. Now let me briefly explain what is adjacency list. So I'm using a very simple example. Okay, suppose this is a graph. Okay, this is vertex number 1. These are labels 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we will not bother about, these are actually physical data, physical memory location. So they will store some data, and we do not want to bother about the actual data value stored in that memory location. whether we want to bother about the vertex index, or vertex level. So this is vertex number 1, first vertex, second vertex, third vertex, vertex 4, vertex 3, like this. So we want to bother about the vertex index or vertex level. Okay, so this is the graph construction, graph picture. So adjacency list means how many vertices are there? 4. So that is the first point which you want to consider, have to think about. There are 4 vertices. So there will be 4 linked list. Okay, so there will be 4 linked list. So first linked list corresponding to vertex 1, second corresponding to vertex 3, third vertex 4, fourth linked list for vertex 4. So 1, the adjacency vertices of 1 is 2, 4 and 3, right? 2 is adjacent to 1, 3 is adjacent to 1, 4 is also adjacent to 1. So what we will do like this. We will there should be a linked list. Let's say 2. So linked list means it is a node. So the data part contains the vertex index, that is the 2, and the next pointer connecting with another node containing the vertex index 3, and next pointer connecting the next node of which data part contains the vertex index 4, and the next pointer is null. What does that mean, this linked list? This means 2 is adjacent to 1, 3 is adjacent to 1, 4 is adjacent to 1. So this is the meaning of this linked list of vertex 1 corresponding to vertex 1. Similarly, you can form the linked list corresponding to vertex 2. We know here from the picture that 1 is adjacent to 2 and 4 is adjacent to 2. 3 is not adjacent to 2 because there is no direct edge connecting 2 and 3. So first node will be 1, then next node will be 4. Okay, and 4 is connected to null. Similarly, 3 is only connected to 1. So 1 is the only adjacent vertex to 3. So the linked list corresponding to 3 contains a single node 1 null. Okay, and similarly 4 is connected to 1, 2 only. So 1, and 2. So this whole thing is known as adjacency list. 4 linked lists are there corresponding to 4 vertices. So in this program, first we are thinking about how many vertices are there in the graph. So you will be given a graph. So in the data set which have been based on which this program has been implemented contains 8 vertices. So n equal to 8. So capital V is the vertex set, so its cardinality is 8. So create ADJ list, create adjacent list, is a function which is creating the adjacency list. Means 8, there will be 8 linked lists corresponding to the 8 vertices. Then there is a function. See, the prototype declarations are very simple. So DFS is the function which is doing the depth first searching algorithm. Okay. So we define the structure of a node as a start vertex data field which is containing the vertex index, and struct, and there is a pointer which is pointing towards another node similar to this structure data type. So the name of the structure is vertex. So struct vertex star adjacent. Adjacent is the pointer which is acting like this next pointer. Okay, adjacent. Okay. Now, 2 important arrays are mentioned, have been used here. First one is an array of pointers. What is this? The name of the array is ADJ list head, adjacent list head. And the number of locations in the array is n. That means 8 vertices are there. So 8 linked list will be there. So 8 number of contents locations will be present inside this array. Adjacent list head means it's an array of pointer. So there will be 8 pointers inside this array. Each of these pointer is supposed to point towards the first node of the 8 linked lists. Okay, so here in this picture 4 linked lists is there, 4 linked lists are there. These are the first node of first is 2, first node of second linked list is 1. So there will be a pointer which is pointing towards the first node. Okay, there will be another pointer pointing towards the first node of the second linked list. So you require 8 pointers which are pointing towards the first nodes of the 8 linked list. Those 8 pointers are present inside this array. It is a list head. And next array is visited vertex array. This array contains its size is n, means 8 locations will be there. 8 values you can store, integer values you can store inside this array. Those values are either 0 or 1. Okay, so in this case either 0 or 1. So these are the values which tells you there are 8 values, right? All these 8 values are actually corresponding to the 8 vertices in the graph. The 0th value correspond to vertex 1, 1th value of this array corresponding to vertex 2. Similarly, the last value of this array will correspond to the vertex number 8 or 8 vertex. Okay, so if the value of corresponding to a vertex is 0, that means that vertex is not visited, unvisited. And if the value corresponding to a vertex is 1, it means that vertex is visited. So that's why this array have been used here. So this array gives you the information about whether a vertex is visited or unvisited. And this is the array of pointers where the 8 pointers are pointing towards the first nodes of the 8 linked lists corresponding to the 8 vertices. That is the picture. Now I will provide you the data set based on which this program has been implemented. Yes. So have you seen the picture? Have you? I have shared in the WhatsApp group. Pecho. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So see the picture.
Yes, sir.
So this data set is I have taken from the Kanetkar book, but the graph has not been shown in the book. The graph construction will be looking like the bottom left picture. There are 2 graphs are shown in the picture. Bottom left and the middle one. So don't ignore the middle one. I forgot to cut it out. So ignore the middle one. That is the wrong graph. But the graph which is bottom left, যার উপরে দেখো 8 vertices বলে double underline করা আছে, দেখতে পাচ্ছ? 8 vertices বাঁ দিকে দেখো, নিচের দিকে দেখো 8 vertices. আমি দেখিয়ে দিচ্ছি। Right. So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is the graph. Ignore this graph. This is wrong. Okay. This is the graph. Ignore the arrows also. Okay. This is my rough sketch. That's why. So this is the graph construction. So you will be given the graph. Suppose I will be giving you a graph. So given the graph, then what you do, you then construct the linked list, adjacency list, theoretically. ঠিক আছে? So adjacency list, because if you want to make the program autonomous, it will be taking unnecessary lot of time. But we are here just to study about what is DFS and how to implement DFS program code, right? So to save time, you will be given a graph. You just theoretically find the adjacency list, and based on the adjacency list, you write the program. You call the program. That thing has been automated in the program. The creation of a adjacency. That means for you can you don't have to write a program based on different graphs. So this program can be executed for any graph, any graph, undirected or directed. Okay, just you have to do what? You have to find the adjacency list on your own. Yes. Anyway, I will show. So suppose this is the graph. Just have a look on the graph, and from the graph, the 8 vertices are there. So 8 linked lists are constructed, which as a total constitutes the adjacency list. Okay, first is 2 pointing 3, 1 pointing 4 pointing 5, 1 pointing 6 pointing 7, 2 pointing 8, 2 pointing 8, 3 pointing 8, 3 pointing 8, 4 pointing 5 pointing 6 pointing 7. This means 2 is adjacent to vertex 1, 3 is adjacent to vertex 1, 1 is adjacent to vertex 2, 4 is adjacent to vertex 2, 5 is adjacent to vertex 2. This linked list corresponds to vertex 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This 2 pointing 8 linked list corresponds to vertex 5. That means 2 is adjacent to 5, 8 is adjacent to 5. That is the understanding from a given adjacency list. Okay, so either you will be given a graph or you will be given an adjacency list. Yes. So now, how can we construct this adjacency list through the program, and then call the function DFS, which will be doing the DFS based traversal and show us the output. The sequence of visited vertices will be the output. Okay, so this is the theoretically, if you find the DFS output, one of the output will be 1, 2, 4, 8, 5, 6. Then after 6 it is 3, then 7. So let's see through our program whether we are getting the desired output or not. So this is the expectation before coming to the program. Okay, so you understood adjacency list. So let me run the program. So you have done linked list. I think you can understand the program. So I just explained the logic. Okay, so enter the initial vertex index for the DFS algorithm. So there are 8 vertices, vertex 1, vertex 2, up to vertex 8. So the indices lying in the range 1 to 8. So you can start with any one vertex out of 8. That is the initial vertex. So let me start with the vertex 1, so that we can verify our program output with the theoretically desired output. This one. We have started initial vertex 1. So let me give the output. It is asking now, enter the adjacent vertices of vertex 1. That means what? It is asking for all the adjacent vertices so that the linked list corresponding to vertex 1 will be created. Right? So enter the index of the vertex, which is adjacent to vertex 1. So as per the picture, please refer the picture, this portion, adjacency list. So first linked list is corresponding to vertex 1. What is it? 2 pointing 3. The first index of the vertex is 2. I have to provide that. So 2. So do you have any other adjacent vertex to vertex 1? Press 1 for yes, 0 for no. Yes, 1. So enter the index of the next adjacent one. That is 3 as per the picture. So please refer the picture from the WhatsApp. So do you have any other adjacent vertex to 1? No. So press 0. Now it is asking for the adjacent vertices of vertex 2, right? So as per the picture, first is 1, right? So I'm now providing the data set. Yes, I have another. Next is 4. Yes, I have another. Next is I think 5. Okay, 5. So next is no more adjacent vertex to vertex 1. So press 0. Now asking for adjacent vertices of vertex 3. Similarly, I am entering as per the picture. So 1. Next is 6. Next is 7. No adjacent vertex. Next vertex 4. Fourth linked list. 2 and 8. 2 and 8. Now vertex 5. Again 2 and 8. Right? Vertex 6. 3 and 8. Right? Vertex 7. 3 and 8. Yes, I have another. The last vertex 8. So 4. Then it is 5. 4, 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, and then 7. No more adjacent vertex. So the entire graph has been constructed in the form of adjacency. Adjacency list is a representation of a graph. Okay, when I will elaborately study or in some lecture, so then you will understand. I will talk about details about the representation of a graph. So one of the representation of a graph is adjacency list. So if you create the adjacency list, that means you are actually creating the graph. You are constructing the graph. Once you are done with the construction of a graph, then we are calling the function DFS, which is performing the DFS traversal, and based on the traversal, the sequence or the order of vertices which are visited as per the traversal, DFS traversal, is displayed as the output. And you can see the output is 1, 2, 4, 8, 5, 6, 3, 7, which is the desired theoretical result we have done. Okay, so in the picture it has been shown as a theoretical result, and this is what you can see is the practical result. So both the results are matching. So hence the program is producing the correct output of the DFS algorithm. Okay. So I hope you have got a flavor of a DFS algorithm. So I will now share the code. So run the code and show the output to Abhijit sir. Okay. Because after this course, you will have no opportunity to do practical on algorithms, on tree graph based algorithms. So I tried my best to convey, to demonstrate all the tree and graph assignments in this semester. আচ্ছা পাঠিয়ে দিয়েছি, দেখে নাও একবার। তো কোডটা একটু রান করে দেখো। অন্য কোনো গ্রাফ তুমি যদি নেট থেকে ডাউনলোড করতে পারো ডেটা সেট, হ্যাঁ, যে একটা গ্রাফ তার করসপন্ডিং ডিএফএস আউটপুট কি হবে সেটা করেও তুমি ভেরিফাই করে দেখতে পারো যে ঠিকঠাক কাজ করছে। Okay, so this is all from my side. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. I hope no. So you can run the program and show the output one by one. This is session Vyam syllabus.
পাস ম্যাট্রিক্সটা আগে দেখাবো নাকি এটা আগে দেখাবো?
এটা দেখি না, এটা যেহেতু রেডিমেড হয়ে যাচ্ছে, তারপর স্পার্স ম্যাট্রিক্সটা দেখি নাও, যেটুকু হয়েছে আউটপুট যদি আনতে পারো ঠিক আছে, আর যদি না আসে যেটুকু প্রোগ্রাম করেছো ওইটাই দিও।
Sir, I have done the sparse matrix.
Oh, good, very good. So please show the output. Whatever you have done, you show. তাহলে সেশন ব্যায়াম সিলেবাস অবধি সবাই অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট লিখবে, যারা যারা আজকে প্রেজেন্ট আছো এবং আউটপুট দেখাচ্ছ। সেশন 9, 10 and 11। আর প্রবলেম স্টেটমেন্টটা একটু মডিফাই করবে, যেহেতু ডিএফএসটা হলো না, তো সেজন্য বিএফএসটা কিন্তু প্রবলেম স্টেটমেন্টে লিখবে না, যেগুলো হয়েছে সেগুলো লিখবে। আর একটা কথা মেনশন করি, ওই ট্রিতে লাস্ট অ্যাসাইনমেন্টটা হয়নি, এক্সপ্রেশন ট্রি, ওটা যদি তুমি বাড়িতে করে থাকো তাহলে লিখবে, না হলে না করলেও চলবে। ভিএসটি, এভিএল ট্রি আর থ্রেডেড বাইনারি ট্রি দেখা যাবে। ইয়েস, না প্লিজ। সো
স্যার স্পার্স ম্যাট্রিক্স কি স্যার ডেটাগুলো আগে দিয়ে জাস্ট আউটপুটটা দেখাবো নাকি?
হ্যাঁ, তুমি ডেটাগুলো দিয়ে রাখো, আউটপুটটা স্ক্রিন শেয়ার করে দেখে নাও, তাড়াতাড়ি হবে।
অনলি আউটপুটটা দেখাও।
হুম। এটা হচ্ছে তোমার স্পার্স। ঠিক আছে, তুমি ভেরিফাই করে দেখেছো তোমার ডিজায়ার্ড অ্যান্সার আসছে কিনা? না?
Yes, sir.